Welcome to my channel, guys. Today we are talking about three generations of cameras: A7 Mark III, A7 Mark IV, and A7 Mark V. I will tell you about the main and key differences between those three cameras, because this is an interesting situation that we have three generations of cameras in current sale. You can actually buy them in the shop, not used but new. And this shows that those cameras are great, but there are key differences between those cameras, and this is not always clear what are the main and most important differences. And I will tell you something that is completely beyond what is written on the paper, but as a guy that actually takes photos and videos and make money on those cameras. So I really know what the difference is in real life. So stay tuned until the end, and in the end I will also answer this I think vital question: is Sony chasing the competition, or they are still ahead, or there's something else to be told about Sony's system? So first of all, let's talk about specifics. A7 Mark III, when it was released, it was a game-changing camera. It kind of finished this conflict between mirrorless and DSLRs. So basically, it was the first mirrorless camera that could actually replace a professional DSLR without any problem. Battery life, fantastic. Autofocus, marvelous. Eye detection, face detection in video, everything that photographer and videographer would need. And that was pretty much enough to convince photographers, but there was something more. Great dynamic range, fantastic sensor, great low light performance. So those were the things that made this camera stand out. 4K, 30 frames per second, full HD, 120 frames per second, very good quality video, only 8-bit, and you couldn't record, and you still cannot record 10-bit even if you have an external recorder, which is a shame because that would make this camera more future-proof. However, if you know how to work with 8-bit videos, if you use, for example, a HLG profile, you should be still good to go to record something like that here, and it's no problem. The only problem when you want to record yourself is that it doesn't have this flippy out screen, it only has this tilting screen. So this is a limitation of the camera that you can actually overcome with the mirror. But this is still a very good camera, and when it was released it was absolutely phenomenal, and it changed a lot in the world of photography. Now, A7 Mark IV. A7 Mark IV, when it was released, it didn't get reviews, like very enthusiastic reviews. It didn't show those things that many people thought they would show, like 8K internal 10-bit recording or 12-bit or something like that. No, it was a conservative move, but very important move. So first of all, what is important? They used a new CPU in this camera, new processing unit in this camera. And this is super important because, when you have those two cameras like I do have them on the shelf, and you take A7 Mark III and then you take A7 Mark IV, this is absolutely clear that A7 Mark IV is massively faster. In any case, the autofocus system is faster. I'm not saying that A7 Mark III, doesn't work great. It does. It is fast enough for most of my use case scenarios, but A7 Mark IV is just faster. And generally, handling the camera is faster. Then you have 10 bits internal recording, 4K 60 frames per second with crop. That was a disappointing thing, but there is 4K 60 frames per second, still very good looking, full HD 120 frames per second, but everything can be now finally recorded in 10 bits, and you can record to the external recorder. So those are the things that make this camera more future-proof. Then flippy out screen, better quality of screen, better quality of viewfinder. That is a big pro, because a lot of Canon users were saying like, okay, you get some good stuff here, but like Canon, you look at this display. It's just a display, I know, because with Sony A7 Mark III, it was like you take raw files or you take JPEGs or videos and you think, oh, this looks horrible, and then you download it to your laptop, and then on the laptop it looks, oh, like wow, this is pretty good. So but finally we have much better viewfinder and much better display, which is a good thing. And this is flippy out screen, which is great for situations like that, where I can see if it's still recording and if everything is okay, and if my eye is detected. Actually, this eye is detected right now. I can see that on the flippy out screen, and I'm recording on A7 Mark IV right now. So those are important improvements. There was a little bit of a downgrade as well, and people were not happy about that because of a higher resolution. The camera lost a little bit of dynamic range, which was legendary in case of A7 Mark III that I still use for interior and architecture photography that I do professionally on daily basis. So those things were like not that great. But in general, if I am to take A7 Mark III or A7 Mark IV to most of my jobs or either video or photography related jobs, I take A7 Mark IV. It's just faster, it's just better. I have this 10-bit internal recording, and that's just way better. And period. Now, A7 Mark V is a little bit of the same thing. When it was released, first reading on paper, you thought, this is not astonishing. It's like Lumix can record open gate and this camera cannot record open gate. But before we get there, let's talk about specifics, about a real life and real case scenario. Okay, so we get a camera that has a partially stocked sensor. This is a 80% of A1 Mark II for 1/3 of the price. And hear me out, it really is like that. And I'm saying that because sometimes on paper it looks like I need this, I need that, I need that, I need that. It would be lovely to have all of that stuff. But Sony became a little bit more conservative. They have a system that really works, that you can actually take to the photo shoot. You can actually take for a video job, and it does the job. You have one of the best, if not the best, probably the best right now, the best autofocus system on the market that can detect birds, cars, planes, and it can really detect them. It's super fast, it's super reliable, and this is, to me, super important. Now, you have 30 frames per second, no blackout, 14-bit RAW, you can shoot birds, sports, whatever you want for that price. This is an entry-level camera, we can say, for nowadays standards. It's more than entry-level camera, but when we are talking about full-frame lineup of Sony, this is the cheapest one from the current newest lineup. So this is all amazing. Now, one of the important things that I appreciate a lot is this flippy and tilty screen. So you can flip it out and you can tilt it. This is huge because I prefer, when I don't have to record myself, to have tilted screen because it's much easier for me to level. I have Manfrotto One system right now that I'm using, and I'm super happy about those tripods that helps me to level my image very easily with just one handle, which is great. But still, I prefer the tilting screen. Now, pair it with improved and finally really good image stabilization, pair it with 4K 120 frames per second crop. Again, this is A7, right? So they have to limit you a little bit, and you have a fantastic camera. And finally, the dynamic range is back, low light performance is back. And finally, one thing that was always a pain with Sony cameras, rolling shutter. Rolling shutter is practically gone. So again, everything in this camera just works. It's perfectly paired, and this is Sony. That's why I'm saying they are a little conservative, but they make cameras that work. And this progress is like, we are giving you the tool that works, that you need, and they're maybe not giving us too much, like let's say a implementation of LUT profiles, LUT profiles. So you can upload LUTs to your Sony A7 Mark V, but you cannot, output video with LUT applied from that camera, which you can from Panasonic cameras. For many people, this is nothing. Like, this is not important. This is nothing, my friend. But for some people, for some high-end users that want to have LUT already applied on the video, that can be a bummer. No open gate can be a bummer. So those are some limitations of that camera that I was kind of disappointed when they released it. Maybe there's a possibility that with future firmware upgrades, yes, they can actually fix it. But for now, this is what we have. So there are things that are missing there. Obviously, there's no perfect equipment out there, but this is one of the most balanced, most real life working, actually doing its job hybrid cameras on the market. And one important thing is how this conservative approach improves overall experience with Sony system. Same E-mount, huge variety of lenses from all over the world, from all different kind of manufacturers that you can choose from, fun lenses, strange lenses, to super bright lenses, zoom, super zoom, and everything. Then you have still the same battery that you had 8 years ago. And what's important, thanks to more power efficient processing unit, this camera can actually work longer on this battery. So this is again an improvement over past generations. So in my opinion, A7 Mark V is actually something that connects the best things of two worlds, of A7 Mark III and A7 Mark IV, connects it into one and improves everything and pushes it further. So can I recommend it more? I don't think so. So which camera is for who? This is the question we've been asking since the very beginning. So in my opinion, if you really want to save money and photography is your main focus, you are still good to go with A7 Mark III. Unbelievable, but it's true. You can still absolutely run a full-blown photo studio on A7 Mark III without any issues. But if you want some of more future-proof, features like 10-bit internal recording, so if you are working more as a hybrid creator, but you don't want to spend a lot of money, maybe save a little bit of money and buy more lenses, then A7 Mark IV is completely valid system right now, and this is my main to-go camera for this moment. And I believe it will be for many years in the future. However, if you want to be 100% future-proof, if you want to have no limits, if you want to do like wildlife photography one day, sport photography another day, interior photography yet another day, and maybe weddings and families another day, then A7 Mark V should be your choice. It is new, so it is not as cheap as you can get like A7 Mark IV or A7 Mark III. You can buy them either used or you have some promos on those cameras. But this camera is just amazing. As I said before, it's 80% of A1 Mark II for 1/3 of the price. So, do I need to recommend it more? I don't think so. I hope you guys liked this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Of course, don't forget to leave thumbs up, subscribe, and I really want to see you in the next recording. Cheers.